Hello and good morning. This is Catherine Perry, and I am your host of the Daily One Command. You have to pardon me today because I've got a little shoulder neck thing happening that knocked me out yesterday, and I'm still being a little babyish with it. And I don't know, it's a sprain or a strain. I turned over. I don't know what I did, but there it is. I have this going on right now, and it kept me from being able to do my Monday broadcast. But I feel like the topic is so important. I am going to be doing a separate recording for that, so keep an eye out for that recording. Hey, let's go for it. Today, we're talking about decision. We talk a lot about these topics that very often we hear in anything motivational, anytime mindset, we always hear about this power of decision. And I feel like this is a place that holds a lot of people up. They go, hey, I made the decision to do it. I spent the money. I did the effort. I worked really, really, really hard. But what happened? Now, I have to quote Picard from Star Trek on this, and I'm going to quote him badly. But what he said was one of the saddest and most unfairest things about life is that you can do absolutely everything right and still not get the results that you desire. Still not get that outcome. And that's why we have to, when we are making a commitment, when we're making a decision, we have to understand where we're making that decision from and what are we actually agreeing to internally, so that as we're making that decision, we can get the lesson, the learning, and the fulfillment along the way. And if you have been a student or a fan or followed me, you've heard the one command statement that is, I don't know how, and whatever it is that you've decided that you wanted, I only know it's so now, and I am fulfilled. And so what we're talking about in this state of fulfillment, we're going to go more into that, is that whatever it is that it takes to make it happen, whatever you have to learn, whoever you have to become, the journey along the way is worth whatever the outcome is. But first, we have to make the decision to move forward. So let's take a look at the framework, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's built into a decision and what can stop us from actually making that decision. And then how can we use the one command to help us form the right decision and help us align to that decision. So I want you to picture, visualize, or imagine a lighthouse. Okay. And look at this beautiful light radiating out into the night. Now, think about the light of that lighthouse. Everyone can see it. The people who need it, the ships, are using it as their guidance home. We're going to avoid these rocks. Here's an area to avoid, right? It's usually put in points of danger. Yet, when we see that lighthouse, there is hope and inspiration because we know we're close to home. But here's the other element when we think about this lighthouse. Think about the light that's emanating from this lighthouse. That very powerful light bulb sending out. It's not just sending light out all around us. Think of it as connecting to the light that's already coming from the stars. Now, just sticking with this metaphor for just a second. It's a metaphor. It's just a lens, a way to think about it. In ancient times, how did ships navigate? By the stars. The lighthouse lets us know that we're close to home and gives us guidance to the port, right? We're a beacon. But I love the idea of the light of this lighthouse meeting the light of the stars. So here's the lens that we're looking at. Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And we have heard this a lot. In fact, it's one of my favorite quotes. Very quickly, I always try to think about what was the time that, or to be an example that people could relate to in my story that might help people in how to think about this. And I thought about when back in the days when I worked in the apartment industry, and I'd worked in the industry on and off for about 20 years, never liking it, but it was one of those jobs I was good at, and it had enough that it kind of worked with my lifestyle. There were things I liked about it, but I never really liked the job itself. But I had always been in personal development. I'd taken training. I'd had experiences. I'd been in business, and I'd get these little forays out into my hypnotherapy practice or being a healer. Maybe I'm reading tarot cards, but I was always doing these things to stretch myself and committing time, effort, and energy to being the person that I wanted to, developing those skills. And I really felt like I had something to offer people. And I knew I didn't like apartments. I had gotten back into working in apartments after one of my forays as a hypnotherapist. I just quit. I'd gotten to a certain point, and then the Gulf War broke out, and everybody just kind of dove for cover. And I really didn't have enough customer base or income to, double down and start marketing. I went ahead and got a job. That's what happened. So this is 3 or 4 years into this, and I was starting to feel like I'm ready. I want to do my business. I really want to make this happen. And I was working a job that was taking a lot of hours. I was well paid on the job, but it was taking a lot of hours, time, effort, energy. I had just gotten promoted, and the new job was a nightmare. I don't even want to go into the stories, but this job was a nightmare from the moment you hit the door, and who knew when I would get to go home. It was not unusual to work until midnight and past midnight many days, and still have to get back and be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. And yet I was committed, and I was doing the job that had to be done, but I knew that that was not the right thing. And so I had been learning the one command from Asara. And and I knew I wasn't ready to go into my business full time. So I said, well, I'm going to open up a little office. There's this new place in town, and I'm going to open up, and I'm going to start giving talks. They had a place that you could give talks at least. And then I had an office that I could meet people. And it was really cool. And a friend of mine that had worked at the same company I was currently at had gotten a job. She'd applied for a job over there, and it really wasn't the right fit for her. And she said, I told them about you. And I said, oh. And I was working on 400 units, which is a big property with a big team and a lot of headaches. And this was a 45 unit building. And I thought, I don't think that's going to pay enough. She said, you need to go talk to them. She said, I walked in there and I thought you should be here. So I said, okay. And so I go in and I was like, well, I already have an office here. And I knew the management team because I had worked with, and management teams kind of come together. And I knew a lot of the people on the current team in the company. And so I had a little bit of a relationship. I applied for the job, and it turned out this 45 unit property, by the time I got my apartment and the compensation, one, it was already going to pay, but then they said, well, they knew about me having an office there, and it was fine to have my office there, as long as I didn't market directly to the people. And I could even run my business. I could market my business as long as I hit all of my responsibilities. Who gets a job like that? And it was the kind of job I love to do. I got to organize events and I got to meet everybody that was kind of in the community that I was going to be developing relationships with my new business. Because what did they want? They wanted event space, and I had event space. I got to do cool stuff for my tenants. It was an artist building, so I got to hang out with all the arty people that I love. And it gave me this space to commit to really be able to think and create. It was incredible, but it came from that first decision. And very often when we make a decision, we wonder about how are we going to do it. Our mind immediately goes there. And then we try to force ourselves into this decision. I want to share with you a few little steps. And by the way, because of that job, I was able to start giving talks. I was able to go get classes and some certification that I needed. I was able to take time off. And then when that job ended, it was like the perfect segue out. And then, even when everything happened, I could even go back and I worked for 8 weeks as a contractor, making 4 times my old salary. So my inner commitment found something in my outer world that committed, that matched perfectly. And when I saw it, I was able to say yes and yes and yes. But what stops us from doing this? I'm going to go through this very quickly. Okay. I realize this is the thing that I talk to people about a lot when I'm working with people one-on-one. Number one, when we make a decision and we say, I am doing this, I will, we are speaking from the great I am, your bigger, greater self, your own greater intelligence. Neville might say it is the God part of you that is speaking, that is decreed, and is bringing you into life. So I said, I'm going to start my own business. I am a healer, my identity. I know I'm a healer. I know I have things to share with people. I want to help people. I am that. So I had my inner self that said, yeah, this is who I am, my core identity, right? And yet it aligned to that greater I am. And that's what I turned over and started speaking to, versus the me. And the me is the ego. And the me would be the one part of me that's unhappy, that feels trapped, that goes, I don't like this anymore. It's not happening. Why can't I have what I want? All that ego stuff. And we've talked a lot about this in other times, and I'm going to be going more into this about the difference between your great I am versus the me. So we're talking about aligning to that greater intelligence in you and that bigger, greater part of you versus that ego self that is secretly running the show, that has all the fear, that has all the unconscious programming, everything that's been conditioned, right, to in the way that you're meeting the world, your orientation, the me. Okay. That's got to be the first thing. You have to be in alignment with your greater self. My I am. I am. When you do that, you are connecting to that God force that is you. So that when you say, I am doing this and I am creating a business, that sets off a whole chain of events. But it's not enough. Next, you have to have a vision. You've got to somehow be able to see, picture, visualize, imagine what it is you want. And you have to be able to see yourself in it, right? Can you literally self doing it? Very often we love to fantasize, right? But we don't actually see ourselves doing it. So an example would be, I had a client come to me who said, I love baseball. I want to be a baseball player. Can I use the one command for that? I said, can you actually see yourself being a baseball player? He said, yeah. He said, I could picture being in the field and everything else. And I said, can you see yourself? And I knew he had a big family commitment. He had a mom he was taking care of. He was doing all this stuff. But I said, can you see yourself being away from your family? and passing those responsibilities on to someone else. He said, I don't even know. And I said, do you see yourself? I kept just putting him in different situations. So and I said, could you see yourself as the coach meeting yourself? Can you see yourself in the different positions in this dream? And we talked a little bit about this in awareness, and this is why we need to be able to go into different levels of consciousness. There's the big, grander vision. There's the bigger, grander vision of what it is that we see. We have to see the big picture. And that big picture, very often, once we can lock into that, it'll start giving us information. But the secret is to position yourself in different parts. So if you want to create your own business, you're imagining yourself not only in your business doing the thing. Can you see yourself taking care of your books? Can you see yourself marketing and advertising? Can you see yourself giving talks? Can you see yourself doing outreach? Can you see yourself writing copy? And initially you go, oh, that's too much. Well, initially it is, but the way that you start conditioning yourself and preparing yourself before you go, oh, I got to go learn all this stuff, you got to see yourself doing it. Can you see yourself through the eyes of your potential customer? Could you see yourself from the perspective of someone who, let's say, you see yourself on Oprah? Well, what would Oprah see? Right? And so you've got to be able to put yourself in different people's shoes, and that will expand your vision. If you go, oh my God, they're going to judge me, there's going to be this or this or this. Which part of you is talking then? Which part of you is showing up in your vision? The me or the I am? So this is how you defeat imposter syndrome. You keep recommitting to, and you first make the decision that you're going to operate from your great I am. Next, I'm going to go through this very quickly. We go, what are the terms? Before we make a decision, we need to know, what are we making a decision about, but what are we committing to? There's not a single thing in our life that if someone said, will you do this, that we don't have questions, that we wouldn't say, well, what am I committing to? And so we need to know what the terms are first. And we don't have that settled inside of us. We don't have it settled in our mind. We don't have it settled with our self. Okay. So very quickly, the way to think about terms is time. It could be effort or energy. R could be resources or relationships. M would be money. And it would be, what money am I willing to invest, but what money do I expect to get in return for all of this? And S, I want to say that we want to call this the specifications, right? We call this the space. Some people say, well, what SH blank T is going to be involved? How much discomfort am I willing to put up with? So that could fall under specifications. What are the specs here? And you've got to be able to answer those questions for yourself. Now, in doing this, it's going to be easier to commit, because if you think about it, we could say, well, I can't really do this because I have my job. I don't have the time. I've got my commitment to my family. I've got my health. I've got my location. I've got all this other stuff. But somehow, other people who have those exact same conditions or worse are able to make the decision. And it comes from getting really clear on what the terms are. As they're hey, and what are they agreeing to? That you've got to get the me on board. You've got to get that small part of you. You've got to get your ego on board. You've got to get your internal resources. You've got to get your visions. You've got to get your emotions aligned. You've got to start creating new habits and systems, protocols. That comes under those specifications. Giving yourself time to get clear on that. And none of that is the how. None of that is the how. But there is what you do want is, what are the milestones? Let's make a quick and dirty plan. And you might brainstorm it. And you go, yep, these are the steps. We still don't know how, but we're going to commit to making it possible. And that means figuring out how, aligning to it, doing the work, all of that. After you've done these things, after you've aligned to the I am, you found your vision, you've discovered what the terms, you've brainstormed, you've come up with your quick and dirty plan, then you can make your commitment. And we make ourselves wrong because we're jumping in feet first, and then we go, I went all in, I spent all the money, I did all the stuff. Why isn't it happening? Very often it is buried inside of those terms. Okay, that's where it's hidden. All right, so is this making sense? Are you seeing where you've been holding yourself up in your decision and what's been keeping you from keeping your commitment? And remember, on the commitment, it's time. You could say, you know, I'm going to dedicate the next 6 months, or I'm going to stay with this until I see this result. And that means being willing to be to fail, be flexible, right? And keep committing to learn and going back to the decision. We've heard this. And to decide means to sever. And the universe is waiting for us to sever away from sever our fear, right? We're going, hey, I'm going to take away the fear, the doubt. I'm making the decision. This is what I want, and I'm going to go for it. And once you're in movement, it is much easier to shift. You don't have to have every single thing figured out, but you can make the decision to move forward. And then along the way, you can make adjustments. So think about what it is that you want to create. If you aren't really clear on what you want, it's really hard to make a decision. It's really hard to figure out a plan or the how, or to stick to it. But that's why we start with the I am. Your greater I am knows. You want to align to that today? Let's do that. We've got several people on. I'm sorry I can't see you. If you are on Facebook, you can be sure and like the StreamYard app, and that will let me see your comments. Good morning, Mr. David. Happy to see you always. So we're going to start with the one command. The basic one commandment statement, of course, is I don't know how then we state what we want. I only know it so now, or I do now, and I am fulfilled. And very often we're afraid to make a decision because that's rooted in fear of loss. Remember I said it means we're going to sever? Well, what if it's just as true that once you make the decision, you're actually going to get more of what you wanted? Remember my story about, hey, I wanted to, go into business for myself, but I didn't have any money, and I didn't really want to lose my job yet. I didn't want to lose that stability, but I made the decision to move forward. And a job that was custom designed for me by the universe that turned out to be the best situation ever and turned into my launching pad for my business showed up because I knew what my terms were. I didn't know how that could happen. If I had put out a message and said, this is the kind of job I want, people would have laughed at me. So right now, let's start with, I don't know how. I'm crystal clear on my desire. I only know I know exactly what I want now, and I am fulfilled. I'll say that again. I don't know how. I'm crystal clear on my desire. I only know that I absolutely know what I want now, and I am fulfilled. Now, the power of the one command is you can make that statement, and it will create a shift. The statement alone. That's why I make these ahead of time. The other is we really don't know how to make a decision from our greater self. So I don't know how I am making decisions from my greater self. I only know I am now, and I am fulfilled. I don't know how I'm making a decision for my greater self. I only know I am, and make that capitalized, now, and I am fulfilled. There's something you want. More money, better health, a relationship, a home. There's something that you really, truly desire, but it feels far away. You don't know how. Let's start with the decision to do it. Whatever it is, that's what your command is going to be. I don't know how I make the decision to create money. I don't know how I make the decision to have a beautiful home. I don't know how I make the decision to have divine health. I only know I do now, and I am fulfilled. That's what that looks like. Okay? So let's ground. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Breathe into that. Feel your connection to the earth and the earth's connection to you. I invite you to become aware of that earth energy starting to come up into your body as you're aligning to the earth and the earth's aligning to you. Up and through your feet, thighs, hips, up into your neck and shoulders. Take a nice deep breath. Try this. Say out loud, I am here. Yeah, I am here now. Think about what it is that you want and align to that. I'm going to invite you to be aware of your I am. That is you. And the thing you desire, all aligning. The little me, the great I am, outer world. In your mind's eye, in this feeling state, through your heart, just take a moment for all of this to align. You may get images, there could be a feeling, or you may just have to take it on faith that right now, in this moment, everything inside of you and outside of you is absolutely aligned. And it is aligning to the I am, that greater I am that is you. So say, I am aligned. Eyes closed, still very lightly. Lift your chin up as you connect to Source. And we may picture, visualize, or imagine it represented as a pole of light. And you could say it out loud or have this thought, I am connected to Source. And Source is connected to me. I'm going to invite you with your eyes closed. Lift your chin ever so slightly. Roll your eyes up as if you're trying to look up to the top of your head and send your consciousness up that pole of light. And soon you break through the darkness into the light of pure, open potential. Now allow yourself in the greatness of this great I am, of the truth of this, of who you are. You are the I am. Allow yourself to start to expand and occupy more space, free of that little mind, free of that teeny little body. Oh, of those limiting circumstances and belief in the story and everything that the me is always going on about. Just allow yourself to be in this greater space, in this greater experience as I am. There's something that you have not been able to decide about that you want to make happen. So what is that command for you? I'm going to do a open command that you can fill in your own command. But first this, I don't know how. I am making the decision to create my life and my circumstances from my greater capacity. I only know I am now, and I am fulfilled. And now your command. I don't know how and state what you want. I only know I am now, and I am fulfilled. And just let that go. Let that expand out to an idea even greater that serves more good. Yeah, that's even greater and even greater. Eyes relaxed. Now I'm going to invite you to come back down into your beautiful incarnation, this little body that is so powerful, and a mind that is lit up like a lighthouse, shining bright. And you are sending your signal out to all of creation that I am here and I am ready now to make it so. And start to receive from every direction, the past, the present, the future, other dimensions, everything you need in order to fulfill your command, to make your vision a reality. And start to receive it in faith and receive it in gratitude now. And as you do, everything within you, within this me that is you, the me that is you, that has a name, that has an address, that has relationships, that has a body, that has its own wants, needs, desires. Just witness and be aware of everything within you that was saying, no, not yet, not sure, I don't know how, why me? Just let all of that start to unwind. And it may take some time for that to unwind, but as it does, just allow these new ideas start to rewind and integrate. Stay present for a moment. Tune into your heart. As you tune in to your desire, whatever it is, it could be a short-term desire. You want to get out of your current situation, or maybe there's a big vision. Maybe there's a need. Tune in. Have you made the decision to go for it? And if not, what do you need in order to make a decision today? And if you said, I need to know the money's going to be there. So, well, if you knew the money was going to be there, would you say yes? Yeah, I would say yes. If I don't know if I have the capability. Well, if you knew you had the capability, would you say yes? Yeah. Well, I need support. If you knew you had the support, would you say yes? Yeah. What stops you from creating that for yourself? The truth is, literally nothing. There is nothing. No thought, image, or idea. Nothing in the past, present, or could ever arrive in the future that can stop you from creating the right terms and conditions so that you can commit to your decision. This is a writer downer today. If you want to listen to this again, this is where you're catching this original broadcast. This is exactly where you catch the replay. You could also tune into our Facebook community, and that's on my website, catherineperry.net. And under Commanding Wealth, you'll see Join Our Free Community. And there, I have all the archives waiting right there for you. So you go to catherineperry.net, check under Commanding Wealth, and you'll see our free community and how to access all these daily one commands. And then, what do we always say? 7 steps inspired action. Be ready for that idea, that inspiration, or that opportunity, and you go for it. I hope that this has been helpful today. I appreciate you making the decision to join me. And so until next time, this is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I witness your mastery. Bye-bye, everybody.